Okay, this boils my blood. This is an elected MP currently serving in the Victorian government. This is Georgie Purcell from the Animal Justice Party. I'm going to read you her comment because I just want to piss off everyone right now. This week, we will debate the second round of this government's bad bail laws. They will leave those who are some of the most marginalised unable to navigate a complex legal system. And we know who will be hit the hardest. Aboriginal Victorians who are already over 10 times more likely to be imprisoned than non-Aboriginal Victorians. They will impact women who are often imprisoned for offences linked to family violence, poverty or trauma. And they will impact young people who will be dragged further into the criminal justice system rather than being given the chance to turn their lives around. This isn't my opinion. This is what the experts say, including the Sentencing Advisory Council, community legal centres, and the Victorian Ombudsman. Who are they funded by, Georgie? But anyway, I digress. Not to mention the coronial inquests that have unequivocally stated that our bail laws are discriminatory, unsafe, and in urgent need of reform to prevent further deaths in custody. No mention, of course, of the deaths inflicted upon the victims, because that doesn't matter. Both of the major parties will tell you that these laws are about building safer communities. If they were serious about that, they would tear up this bill and increase investment in housing, mental health care, family violence services, and community-led justice solutions. You know, the things that actually stop people falling into the legal system in the first place. And I couldn't help myself. So I've written a comment. How can you, in good I was trying to be, respectful because, sitting MP and all. How can you, in good conscience, post this given just this weekend a bailed offender driving a stolen car killed someone whilst driving into them head-on at 100 kilometres an hour? The state is gripped in a youth crime crisis where the offenders have been bailed over 50 times and repeatedly reoffend. Would you be saying this to the man who lost his hand to a machete attack? How tone deaf can you be? These offenders need to be jailed immediately and for once out there put their victims ahead of the criminals. Now, this boils my blood for so many reasons. It's always the race card. We need to fix it for the Aboriginal kids. We need to fix it for the marginalised ones. No mention of the people who are getting assaulted in their own homes whilst they're minding their own business. No mention of the children who are being terrorised in their own homes by other children. No mention of the people who are having their lives destroyed because they're losing their car because it's been carjacked in Keysborough when they're on the way to the airport. No mention of the kids' lives that are being destroyed because their parents have been financially crippled because these criminals keep getting out on bail every week and every time they offend and going and looting and robbing stores, taking away from small business. No mention of that because you know what, Topher? None of us matter so long that the 0.01% are looked after and paid for by taxpayer dollars. The rest of the taxpayers be damned. That is the attitude of these fucking lefties. Sorry, that's number 3 of the podcast. These people have a bleeding heart and all they care about is that freaking diversity quota. All they care about is that virtuosity point. Look at me with my little pretty scout sash. I'm collecting all the buttons because I'm a good person. You know what, Georgie Purcell? You are bringing a child into this earth and you are bringing a child into an unsafe Victoria. Your child is more likely to be assaulted by one of these criminals than another Aboriginal child ending up in the justice system. Sorry, them's the facts.
So what's been missed there, Carly, is she's actually arguing a straw man. The thing that the claim that she's making or the claim that she's implying is that it's either bail or not bail. But no one's arguing to get rid of bail. I've never heard you say that no one should get bail. What we're saying is that the decision as to who gets bail and who doesn't is currently wrong. I support bail for first-time non-violent offenders. Okay, I support bail. The research is very, very clear. If you trap somebody in a justice system unnecessarily, they are more likely to go wrong than right. Right? First offense, non-violent. Let's get them into, let's get them, redirection. Let's get them into counseling. Let's do some of these other community-based things to try and get them to redirect their life. I'm 100% on board. If it's a violent crime, we need to be much more careful. If it's a violent crime whilst already on bail, time's up. You are remanded in custody until you face trial. But Georgie Purcell is being dishonest. She's not actually acknowledging this is a debate about when bail should be given. She's trying to get you emotionally invested in the idea that there are kids who really shouldn't be kept in the justice system. That's true. That's true. There are kids that shouldn't be kept in custody, that need other interventions. That's absolutely true. And Georgie, no one's saying anything different. You are lying by omission. You're lying by implication, sorry, that your argument is predicated on the idea that it's either bail or no bail, and no one is saying that. So this is a sitting MP being, in my opinion, deliberately dishonest in her argument by misrepresenting the counter-argument to pretend that it's some absolute binary decision, which no one is trying to imply.
This is where the conservative in me comes out. Now, I wouldn't call myself a conservative. I wouldn't say I'm that. But when it comes to crime, I am, because we have seen this time and time again. And I know the lefties will always come for me on this. They're like, it doesn't work. Punishment doesn't work. Discipline doesn't work. Okay, sure. There is always going to be someone that falls through the cracks. There is always going to be someone that it doesn't work out for. But you know what discipline does do? It helps build people up. It helps give them something to fight for or to fight against. And the more we let that soft, bleeding heart approach be the way we discipline our kids, we are only enabling them, thus forcing them into a lifetime where they don't even respect themselves. Forget about the victims for a second. We've got 14-year-olds who think they're tough, going and robbing someone's home whilst they're asleep with a machete. What a cowardly thing to do. At least the fucking bikies are importing bloody coke or whatever they do. I don't know what bikies do, but, you know, and they're running $1 billion friggin' coke empire. But no, you're going into some unassuming person's home whilst they're asleep, robbing their wallets of what? No one has cash these days. At best, you're probably getting $50, and you're going and tapping their card until it gives out. Maybe you got a couple of $100 and you think you're a big dog. You're on your Instagram post holding your fucking machete. Oh, look at me, I'm so cool. The reason we need to punish these kids is you've got to humiliate them. Nothing will work other than chipping them down a bit. The reason you do that is because no one likes being humiliated. No one likes feeling shame. Of course, it's a horrible feeling. That's why it's a very worthwhile emotion. And the problem I have with the left is they think bad emotions should be eradicated. Those emotions are there for a reason. They will help you build your character. You will help someone by giving them a tough time because they have to sink or swim. And when you have a kid who's thrown in juvie because they've done something egregious like rob someone with a machete, they're going to sit there and sulk because while the rest of their friends are out there living a life, going and doing on and forgetting about this like delinquent youth that they were living, they're still in juvie rotting. You know what's going to happen? They're going to be resentful. Other people are living, they're not. You'd give them 2 years to sit there and feel the consequences, teach them a trade and teach them self-esteem and watch them come out the other side. Sure, there will be kids that fail. That doesn't mean it's not a good solution. And I've said this a million times and I'm going to end with this. Look at what Nayib Bukele was able to do in El Salvador. I'm going to drive this point home. You can sit here and argue these policies all day, right? Not when people's hands are being cut off by machetes. The time to argue all of these things, Georgie Purcell, was 10 years ago when only a couple of people were being hurt in their homes. Now it's every night. It is a home invasion every hour. We are seeing people literally die, getting maimed, having their limbs amputated, being stabbed in the face. I'm sorry, no more. This is where you cut your bullshit and you lay down the hammer. Throw down the hammer. This is when you get Nayib Bukele. You come in, you clean it up, and then you can worry about those policies after people who aren't involved in these crimes feel safe in their homes. I'm sorry, I will die on that hill. It is time to throw them all in jail. I don't give a shit if it's their first offense or their 50th. Put them all in jail. Let them feel the fucking consequences of their actions. I'm sorry, but I've got to go off. I've got to finish this. When I did something naughty, I fucking knew I was naughty. I knew I was naughty because when you're 14, you've watched enough movies, you've seen enough shows, you know what's good and bad. You know whether or not you're doing the right thing. So if you're choosing to go into someone's home and you end up stabbing them in the face 11 times, you cannot plead ignorance. You cannot tell me you didn't know that stabbing someone was bad. And yes, that was pardon me, it was an excuse used by a Sudanese kid a couple of years ago who then wanted to commit an even more heinous crime. That is what he said. He was too young to know the difference between stabbing someone was good or bad. So this is when you sweep it all up, throw them in there, lock them up for 2-3 years, rob them of something precious. And that is their life. You need to do that. And you can sit there and tell me I'm cruel. I don't care. I'm not going to be assaulted in my home and lose my hand at the hand of a 14-year-old wielding a machete, whose parents will then go on to say, oh, they were such a good boy. They just got caught up with the wrong crowd. You know what I did when I was 14 and I did something I shouldn't have done? My parents whopped my ass. And I sat there with a welt on my butt and I was grounded for a week. I fucking knew I was wrong. I knew I'd done the wrong thing. You know what? I didn't do it again. Or I got better at hiding that I did it.
Well, here you are again. Thank you so much for watching the Oddcast. You've just seen a clip from the wonderful Carly and myself. Am I wonderful? No, but Carly is. And between us, we make a good team. So head on over to the Oddcast HQ on YouTube and watch our full episodes over there. See you there.